Good to see you in person. There's some water. There's some water as well. Just pass those down for you. Thank you. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, special occasion, of course, for it. Right. What, some notes for you and everything? Right. Good. All good? Everyone ready? Yeah. 2 seconds. Come on, Clyde. So, I'm James.
I'm Dan.
We're the Ragamuffins.
We're joined today by Holding Absence. Hello. We're also joined for the very first time by a live audience.
Very much appreciated. So tonight, Oxford, second night of the tour. How was last night for the first one?
Really good. Yeah, they're always very. The first night of tour, you know, first and worst rhyme for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so you're always a bit scared and skeptical. But
we're always like, we have this running joke where like we have a day one curse as well, where something always goes wrong or something breaks or just something bad happens. But last night was good, so hopefully we've broken that.
Broken the curse.
I hope so.
And to give you context, our first night of our last tour in America, we started in Arizona, and Lucas had 3 vocal mics on stage, and none of them were coming out the front. So there was a
great photo of me like
holding all 3 at the same time.
Trying to get some noise out, you know. So luckily that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I just realised I should be talking about the mic.
But at least, hopefully, the curse is broken.
Yeah.
It's been deferred until today, and we'll find out later.
Don't say that. Don't jinx it.
Touch wood tonight now.
So we're in Oxford today. I guess the question is, why Oxford? Why are you playing such smaller towns and smaller venues on this tour? What was?
Well, we wanted to kind of throw it back to how we used to do things. You know, like we when we started as a band, we would always book our own shows and just play wherever would have us, and that would always end up being in like Basingstoke or Tunbridge Wells or things like that. So we really cut our teeth as a band that way. And as you
disrespect to Tunbridge Wells.
Oh
no disrespect to anywhere. I
No.
think a big point of this is as well for us is like we're from a small town next to a small city. Like generally, like Cardiff would be lucky to get shows because Bristol's so close. So us being from a town called Pontypridd, never would be able to like walk to a show. We'd always have to get a train, and sometimes we'd even have to change country and go to England, right? So a big part of this is the fact that like we have always, you know, when we were younger, we wished more tours would come to our places, and we're well aware that the last few tours have been Birmingham, Manchester, blah blah blah, and we're kind of just sick of that, man. You know, these are the best kind of places to be a lot of the time. You know,
but it's also nice. Like my point was that we've played these places to like nobody before, but we slowly started to see, you know, people turning up each time we come to these places. So it's nice to come back now after we've done all these like London 12 times and Cardiff and Glasgow 12 times to do these like places and and enjoy it a little bit more.
It's nice for us, I think, to see that because we were here last time we played Oxford. I think it was in October 21.
21, yeah.
And so, like, seeing the room and knowing that tonight's sold out, I think it's lovely to see that growth.
And it's an interesting parallel because the last tour we did, that tour specifically, was generally Birmingham, Manchester, London, blah, blah, blah. And then we were kind of like, oh, man, like, Oxford is in there and we're worried about the number drop off. And generally it was a lot of a smaller turnout. So this specific venue on the last tour was like, oh man, you know, like it's not as many people as the other dates, and now we've sold the venue out. We've sold twice as many tickets and stuff. So it's really cool that, you know, it's nice to know that, you know, if you keep chipping away at a place, you know, and keep coming to somewhere, like you'll get rewarded in the end, you know.
With that kind of in mind, do you have a preference whether you play smaller venues or do you like the arenas or the festival side? Where do you kind of lie in your favourite kind of arena to be in?
It's sorry, but
no, it's okay.
You have your turn.
I was going to say smaller venues normally. Smaller venues for us. We're at a weird size where we're often invited to play opening a lot of large venues. And it's quite a stressful time for us. And I think a lot of Holding Absence music is quite emotional. And when you're trying to convey that emotional, speaking on Lucas's behalf here, over a photo pit of 8 people, and then you've got like 3 people from showsec, you know, security, and then the crowd are like 30 feet away, you feel like you're a little bit on display, a little bit on a spectacle. So when you can sort of come down and do a show, sometimes with no barrier, sometimes with just a small barrier, it's a lot more in the vein of what we try to be.
We played a show in, I think it was it was LA, I think, and it was this really cool venue, and like Paramore played there a couple months later and stuff. It was really cool. But the front of the venue you could only go to if you had like meet and greet passes.
I think you had to pay extra to get to the
and then the middle
front.
of the venue was just like normal. So we were playing and we were like looking at the bottom. We were like, God, we're bombing tonight. Like there's like 40 people down there. Nobody likes us. And then when we started playing Shadow, I could just see like 100 people like
Just
about
off
a
in the
mile
distance.
away, jumping and going crazy. So
What's that on the horizon?
yeah. So it is smaller venues are way better for the for the intimacy generally. But then at the same time though, you know, playing a venue tonight is really good because, you know, you've got good size stage and good size facilities. You know, we can have a shower and stuff, which is great. But then at the same time we've still got that intimacy, which is kind of the perfect midpoint really. So
you've got Void of Vision out on this run with you, but you've also got some local supports that are sort of changing at each venue. What's the kind of process to choosing what local bands to get in?
I think we've done this a weird way. I think because normally I think you just get like kind of told who's like our like booking agent will be like, this band's on this show, but we kind of made it a point of like we're playing these towns and like we're friends with so many bands, so we made a point of like handpicking each band for each show.
Like I think we looked at the map and we're like, who of our friends or bands, you know, even like one of the bands who's playing with us in Liverpool, it's like the drummer came up to me while I was queuing for food in 2000 Trees and we just chatted for like 20 minutes, and I just remember thinking like, if I ever get the chance to give this dude a show with us, like I'm gonna do it. And then this tour came around and I was like, he was the first person in my head, because I was like, this is the, you know, the rare opportunity we get to offer that. We don't have to worry about any stupid politics or this band's managed by this band's manager or any of that rubbish. It was very much just like, who do we want, you know? And like Scott said, you know, normally it would be you get told who's going to sell the most tickets in the local city, but for us it was just like, I know this guy's from there and he's a legend. Like, you know, the band who supported us last night, they're from Bristol, so they traveled a little bit down to Exeter, but like the bassist posted the other day like a photo of the t-shirt that we sold at our last Falling With Style show in 2015. So like that guy's been with us for like 8 years, like before this band even, you know. So that was a big part of it. Was more than anything we just wanted to kind of give back to the people that we are grateful to in every city, I guess. So yeah.
I was going to say as well, I guess it's almost like you would have been in their position before as well.
Of course,
so it's almost like,
yeah.
Now that you've grown a bit bigger, you've got the kind of power, I guess, to...
Yeah, and we spent a lot of
pick them up.
time down there, you know, honestly. You know,
There
like I
was,
said, with our old band, Falling With Style, we did 5 years of kind of just trying to make the second step, and just it never did. So for us, there's a real sense of gratitude that we have the opportunity to give a show to a band like our old band, if that makes sense.
There's there was a venue in Bridgend called Hobos, and thanks to a local promoter in Bridgend, shout out Dean, we were like the Hobos house band, because he would sort of give us a leg up, and we through there we supported Hawthorne Heights. We also supported Lower Than Atlantis. We had we had lots of opportunities for Hobos that way. So it's kind of cool to sort of see things from that side of the show and be able to pick someone.
And it's the highlight of the year when you're in that situation.
Exactly.
It's like,
And as for the process of picking, it was a WhatsApp group with about 81 notifications every time you turned around, because like it's been hard to actually only pick, the one for each show. So that was a lot of just discussion and compromise and debate just to even get down to 11, because we know so many more.
Would you say Hobos House Band should have stuck? I don't know why you've gone with Holding Absence. I'm not stuck with that. It's a great band name.
So you've spoken about kind of playing a lot of older songs on this, and now like kind of this discography is getting bigger. Are you finding it harder and harder to make a set list and kind of go through the songs that you want to play live?
It's impossible. Yeah, it's
and it only gets harder as well, you know. And truthfully, you know, you can see it like in person. If a song, you know, like if you play, if like we played some older songs last night, and you could really feel it's a real compliment, you know, that the band has kind of evolved to the point where some of these people just, not 90% of the crowd don't know the older stuff, but you know, it's still kind of a hard thing. And I was saying to someone earlier, it's kind of like if you entered 10 of your children into a talent competition, like one of them's gonna lose, and that sucks because they're all my babies at the same time. So there is this weird kind of thing where it's like, you know, some songs are better to play than other ones and stuff. But like Scott said, it's like every album that rolls through, it's just like we've got another 10 songs to compete with, you know?
It's the set list that we have though is pretty good because it's very fluid. So I think we have a lot of older and newer stuff on standby that we're going to try, you know, like swapping things in and out sometimes and keeping it
Fluid.
keeping it quite fresh every night. And I guess maybe some people miss out on a certain song or two, but it's you know, it's the whole idea of the tour, I guess, is we want to just kind of keep it as fresh as possible.
On a similar note, I guess, have you got any favourite songs either that you've written or maybe that you would never take off the set list?
Afterlife.
It's
It's got to be a guarantee.
That's pretty much always going to be on there.
I feel like finishing with Afterlife and Wilt is always a really special kind of 1-2 because it's like one of them's really energetic and catchy and punchy, and then the other one's really like introspective and emotional, and I think in those 10 minutes between those two songs it feels like everything has been explored.
Yeah.
But interestingly though, obviously some of the songs we're playing Ben just wasn't in the band for, you know. So we're playing songs and Ben's like, just kind of slaps.
Yeah, I still get to be a fan of the band to a certain degree, and because obviously some of the songs I'm playing I had to learn. I mean, I've always been like, I was a fan of the band before I joined, so I didn't have to learn them completely from scratch. But it is nice for me to have a little bit of a, like, essentially like 2 years ago I was working in a call center, and now and there's nothing wrong with that, it was an amazing job, but then to fast forward 2 years and like be playing the songs that I used to like, you know, wait and go watch the band play is like kind of a nice moment for me. I do have a voice in the back of my head saying, are you messing this up? Are you like, you know, enjoying it too much? You're meant to be a bit moody. But yeah, so yeah, I'm grateful that like the newer stuff that I've sort of come in and joined the band and been on board for has done really well. But I've been waiting for this tour as long as some of you guys to hear songs like Penance played again, because yeah, just because I'm on stage doesn't mean I don't want to be like hearing it as well.
Someone tweeted that we haven't played that for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean 2019 obviously was, you know, we did that Scala show, and that was like we played every song in our catalogue, and then COVID happened, and then we didn't play
I
a
literally
show
forgot about that
for years. So yeah.
You had an incredibly busy time last year touring. And this is January, got this tour. You're going straight off with Electric Callboy afterwards. Then we're into festival season where you're at Slam Dunk, you're going to be at Trees again. Do you just love being on the road that much? Is there kind of that passion for it and just kind of pushing those songs out there, having that live experience? What really draws you to that?
We love it, like every aspect of being in a band, you know, and like being in a studio recording music or like writing music together. Like, you know, every aspect has its pros and its cons, but we love all of it. But I think the touring aspect is when everything comes together, you know, and you get to kind of like experience the emotions with everyone in the room at once, you know, and like all this effort that you've put into recording and writing and then like promoting your music, it all comes to a point in that room.
Not to be lame as well, but like writing music is a very self-fulfilling thing, because ultimately you could write a song and never release it, and it's like, but you could have gone through so many emotions, it could have been really therapeutic, right? You know, but like this is awesome. Like, thank you all very much for coming down. Like, this is kind of the reason we really do it. Is like, I could write music in my bedroom to myself for the rest of my life, you know, but for me it's like going down, seeing people, meeting people, hearing their stories, you know, seeing their tattoos and all these incredible things. It's like music is, you know, something that can be done within you, but it's so much better when it's shared with other people, and touring is the way of sharing music. So that's kind of why, I guess.
Furthermore, we consciously write some of our songs thinking how they're going to sound live. So in an abstract way, the way they're meant to be heard is at a gig, and what you get on record is us trying our best without everyone else around. So that's when, like Scott said, that's like where it comes together. So
the other thing as well is like, it's kind of like going to the gym, where like if you have a week off, that first day back is always harder. So never have a week off, kind of thing.
Yesterday was the first day back to the gym.
Man,
straight away.
I know we shouldn't have had those 2 months off, you know. So yeah.
So you guys have done a split EP with Loathe, a split with Alpha Wolf. If there was to be a third one,
Share.
who would it be with? Yep.
That would bang.
I feel like we should do one with like a lighter band now.
Yeah, because ultimately, you know, in the space that we fill, you know, we're the lightest band on heavy bills a lot of the time, but then sometimes we are the heaviest band on lighter bills. So I'd love to do something with a band like, I don't know, like Stan Atlantic or like Neck Deep or something like that, you know. I think we're really in touch with the scene, and I know it's kind of like you know, the scene is it sounds like such a stupid term, but I really love paying attention to what's going on around us, and that's why Loathe and Alpha Wolf both came about, because they are, and were at the time, you know, at the front of the game, and we're just grateful to be in any way relevant to them, you know. So it's like, if we could kind of flip that, and rather than those two bands be the heavy ones on those splits, it'd be great if maybe we could be the heavy band on a split.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think
yeah.
the important thing of those splits is like the duality of it, you know, because
Yeah.
like we could do a split with a band that sounds just like us, and I think it would get lost a little bit, you know. Whereas like if we did another one and we went the other way, I think we would have to kind of like try and make that duality as wide as it has been the past two times.
It's almost like you're in the middle of the road at the moment. You could go lighter, you could go heavier.
Exactly,
you could do a bit
and
of both.
that's kind of our favorite trick, really, is the fact that we do, you know, we do go heavy and light, and I think if we ever like strayed too far over the line, we might not be able to go back and have that fun, you know. So yeah.
With that kind of in mind, with Aching Longing, did you have that written, completed already, or did you think we need to write something a little bit to complement Alpha Wolf's sound?
It was written already, actually. Yeah, it was. We're always writing, and we're always coming up with new music, and yeah, that was just like an idea for like, let's put a heavy song on the next record.
I will say though, the breakdown at the end hadn't been written.
No, yeah.
So when we found out that Alpha Wolf were involved, it was like, like we can actually write a breakdown now, and me and Scott don't have to try and like thumb one vocal performance together, you know, because we've actually got someone who can smash it at the end, you know. So.
Speaking of the vocal performance, what's it like for you, Scott, doing those screams live? Is it a challenge at all?
It's a challenge because I'm like not a vocalist, if that makes sense. Like I don't like.
Fooled me.
Thank you very
Scott
much.
kills
No,
it,
I mean,
man.
like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, I used to scream in our old band, and you know, I kind of recorded all the screams then. But like, now it's just very much like I just get up there and do it and hope it goes well. So if it doesn't go well tonight, I'm really sorry.
He's being really coy, but he has one brew dog before doing it every night, and that's his. That's his
He has
system.
one brew dog, and then he just goes like,
Immediately.
backstage, and then he's
Yeah.
warm as hell.
This podcast is sponsored by Brewdog.
Fantastic. Lost Lager specifically.
So with you, Ben, as well, kind of mentioning joining on with it.
Yeah.
How would you say this is different from something like Falling with Style?
I don't want to sound too superficial, but like a lot of the way that we communicate and the way that we work has stayed the same. So mainly the difference is probably like, you know, the sort of nicer side of being in a band. For instance, when we go to record a record, we don't all have to decide how much money each individual member has and club it together and figure out, you know, what's the best we can get. So it's the more materialistic things, like going on tour and having a nice van, or being able to afford a hotel room, or, you know, and going to record in a good facility. And the absolute best part of it is turning up to shows where there are people who are interested. Because we did tour and we did record and we did all that in the old band, and we just were like, you know, just doing it for the love of it. So to be in a position where we do it and we get that energy bounce back, that's the biggest difference, that you get something back from it.
You guys seem to, last year in particular, you seem to be at every single festival in the UK, it felt like. Is there something about the UK festival scene that you just love?
Yeah, I mean, more than anything, we're grateful that the UK festival scene allows us to play so many festivals. You know, it's like, I didn't really realize this, but it is quite a strict kind of routine as a band. You know, you've got festival season, and like, truthfully, our lives pretty much now, if we continue the way it is going to be, is like, you know, you tour from September to May, and then you basically got the summer off, and you've just got to hope that all the good festivals will give you a go, you know, once a month you'll go, you know, so, but then at the same time, you know, we grew up going to, I remember I went to a major festival every year for 10 years, you know. So like as a fan of Redden and Leeds, I remember we first went to Sonosphere in 2011 with Metallica, Biffy and Slipknot headlining, and you know, it's like that's kind of like I really think that's like the pinnacle of being a music fan is a festival. It's kind of like it's like everything in one place, you know. So so it's so great that we can kind of be a part of somebody's weekend in that way. And yeah, so, but I mean, you know, we'll accept any festival offer that comes in, really, you know what I mean? So.
Just on that, for this summer, you've said to expect something quite special for Trees, because you're doing 2 different sets there. Is there anything else you can kind of tease about that a little bit? Just because we're going, and I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I don't actually know what. There's still a few little things that need ironing out. We really do like the idea of. I don't want to say this and upset anyone if it doesn't happen, but we really do like the idea of kind of doing almost 2 completely different sets. That would be fucking sick. Because the cave, no, not the cave, what's it, the forest?
Forest stage.
Yeah, it's like, that would just be sick, like late at night playing the old stuff and everybody just kind of whiling out. And then, when we play the main stage, it's like...
I didn't know if we'd announced that yet or not. Did we?
To be honest, I think I got away with
Redacted.
But
it was on the tip of my tongue, and I was like, "Yeah, probably shouldn't."
Yeah,
say
maybe
that.
we might play a bigger stage than the forest one. But yeah, anyway. But trying to have that. But a big part of our band is the duality, and trying to have the 2 different sides to it. So at Trees, we're really lucky that we've got the opportunity to explore every aspect, So we really want to try. So yeah.
So we have spoken to you before, Lucas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. To be honest, I said to the boys I didn't really want to talk today because my voice. Obviously, I'm a singer. I got to worry about my voice. But then I was like, I hogged you guys. But yeah, literally we started the interview and you asked a question. Scott went to go
straight away.
So anyway,
we literally agreed before this. Lucas was like, "I need to protect my voice. So can you guys chip in?" So I was like.
Straight away.
I think Lucas was born with a mic in his hand.
Oh, immediately.
So
Immediately.
Or 3.
All 3.
Yeah. Well, you can rest for this one. For the other 2 of you, what was the first album you bought that you remember?
Busted a present for everyone.
Legendary.
I think.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I got my stepbrother to buy me 50 cents, Get Rich or Die Trying. 50 cents, yeah. 50 cents, yeah. It's because, as I was saying it, my mind was like, stop talking.
It's a trivia act.
50 cents, Get Rich or Die Trying. My stepbrother bought it for me. But the first album I bought under my own steam was probably, I think it was probably Stadium Arcadium by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
We're in a record store right now. We're in Truck Store. If you were to recommend one record that people should be buying right now, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'm in proper record nerd mode at the moment in my life.
Go for it.
Is there any limitations? Is it like
Anything.
this year? Anything at all?
I think
Maybe something you've been listening to a lot lately, or something you picked up recently.
one thing I'll suggest is I really like putting a record on and reading or something. It feels like a real kind of moment if you do that. So I actually don't listen to as much contemporary vocal led music, but the one that I bought quite recently, which was really cool, is the Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. They did 50% of the soundtrack to the Pixar movie Soul. And they pressed it on vinyl, and it's just basically a beautiful ambient album written by the guys behind 9 Inch Nails. So it's you can pay attention to it and it's really clever, or you can just vibe to it and it just feels good in the background. So I'm going to go with that one. Yeah.
You got an answer,
Looking at
Scott?
each other.
I was gonna. It was similar to Lucas's, but I'm gonna change my answer now. So you go.
Sorry.
All right. This is too much of a coincidence to not mention now. I can see over on the wall over there CVC's new album. They're from where I'm from, Church Village, and I went to school.
And their name is literally means Church Village Crew.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's incredible.
To be honest, I don't know if they deny that or not, but we all assume that. And I went to school with some of their members, and it's so sick actually seeing their vinyl over there because I think that's their first release. So that's their first proper release, and so I'd have to give them a shout out just because I can see the vinyl right now.
So basically, Ben just said, "Shout out to my boys."
Yeah.
He's allowed to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say this one because it's so obvious, but I can't stop listening to the new 1975 record. I think it's so good, and I think it's their best music in years. And but it's just everyone listens to the 1975, so it's not really a recommendation, is it? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe there's a reason for that.
True, yeah. But that record's incredible, and yeah, that's my choice.
As a last kind of one for the minute, who is the most random artist you'd like to play a show with?
It's really tough because you've got to think about whether we'd go down well on a show with them, So it's
You can have a laugh. It's for your enjoyment.
Radiohead, yeah, literally Radiohead. But we'd go down like a sack of shit.
I was going to say Billie Eilish. I feel like we'd have a good chance.
Billie Eilish, I'd love
I
to
think we'd have a good
Billie
chance
Eilish.
with the Billie Eilish crowd.
I don't know.
That's not right. No, I
That's a good. I agree, though. I'd happily do that.
We have,
Deep in thought.
we have. I'm trying to think about where we have been. We have been on some weird sort of festivals where it's been more of a variety show. We played a festival called Caravana in Switzerland, and we were on the lineup next to Mika. So like, it's never that bad because you do get to cultivate your own audience a little bit. Selfishly, I'd probably pick like a weird band that I'm into called Purity Ring, because I just get off stage and then just go and try and get into the barrier and just watch the show afterwards. So that'd be my selfish choice.
So we're going to throw to a bit of an audience Q&A in a second, but we did have some questions online.
Oh,
So, first one, what inspired you to start making music?
I was lucky. My parents were always. I was kind of like Ben said. I was born with a microphone in my hand. There's a photo of me with a Prodigy T-shirt on at the age of 2. So like, I feel like I didn't really have a choice. My family just made me a musician. So.
For me, my uncle used to be in bands, but like do like pub cover bands, and he taught my mum how to play guitar. And then when I was young, my mum taught me how to play guitar, and I used to just play old country songs and started from there.
Yeah, and as for me, my granddad got me listening to Queen and Fleetwood Mac really, really young, and my older brother started playing guitar, and I think like the little shit in me couldn't like let him get away with like learning an instrument, so I went ahead and learned bass, and it would stem from that.
Which is quite interesting. You don't see very often in like our style of music. Like people don't learn bass. Most of the like most of bassists in like our kind of bands are like guitarists who play bass. But Ben literally plays bass.
Ben is probably the most talented musician in the band, but we neuter him to be just like note.
It was if you grow up like if your first experience of music is Fleetwood Mac and Queen, there's like a strong chance you just listen to that and think the bass
and the Chili Peppers as well.
Yeah, for a lot of it is the cool part. So I try to remind myself of that when I'm strumming the 3rd fret for 480 bars during a song. But that's where it all comes from.
Who are the bands that influence your music?
It's a broad question because we try and I know it's such a lame answer, but we try and be influenced by like everything. Like Lucas was saying, like I know us two, we've been into like film soundtracks and stuff, and we've been trying to kind of implement those layers of like ambience and emotion into like music. But then also you have like, you know, obviously we're like a post-hardcore band, so you can't really escape the Silverstein or the My Chemical Romance and you know all that sort of stuff.
The last band that really made me think like, oh, I need to do this more in my band was Taking Back Sunday, actually. Just listening to Louder Now. So I'll just say that for now. So yeah, I guess there's so much stuff. There's
a lot of variety there.
Yeah.
So, given unlimited money, what's the one thing you'd love to include in a live show?
Ooh.
Oh, confetti.
Big confetti cannon.
Big confetti cannon, yeah.
Any particular colours?
All of them.
Every colour.
Yeah.
I feel like a synchronized dance troupe would be class. Like in the background. And I'd like every now and then I'd go off and vibe, and then I'd come back for a chorus and I'd like join in.
Just join in there, vibe,
and then I'd just dip off.
You know what?
Yeah,
confetti isn't that expensive. Have you seen the Parkway Drive's current show where like they have the fire everywhere?
No, that sounds good.
They got fire everywhere, and I'd go with fire everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. They learn like the edge of the stage. They literally have like fire on the edge of the stage.
Literally
Crazy.
all of the pyro.
All of it.
Every pyro.
Yeah.
Right, come on in, Ben.
I think you know how like hologram shows are getting like popular and like people have gone to see ABBA, like, but they're all holograms.
Are you about to say you don't have to turn up for a gig, you can just be a hologram?
That, or I would turn up with a hologram of myself.
You could play bass in the dressing room.
Yeah. That, or a DJ duo from America called Odessa at a festival appearance. I think they had about 200 drones form their band logo in the sky above the crowd. So with unlimited money, I'd try and push to get them off, sort of outlined up into the sky. But it'd be quite funny to see that up in the sky and then to look down and only see about 200 people at the gig. But it'd be worth a go.
I mean, you could pay people to be at the gig as well.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And so for a final one, I'm not expecting an answer necessarily, but when do you plan on releasing a new single?
Ooh, interesting.
Right, we need to all hold hands and be communal. Decision here.
Whatever you say, we'll back you up.
Yeah.
Soon enough.
Soon enough.
Yeah.
But also not very soon, so don't get too
At some point in the next 12 to 36 to 48 months.
Yes.
It's like
broad scope for this.
to mirror what Scott and Lucas were saying earlier. We're always writing music, so there's always prospective dates that are like just sort of like quite fluid and penciled at the moment. So it's it's on our radar, but it's by no means like confirmed on yet.
Lovely. So now I'm going to throw it out to any of you. If you've got any questions you want to ask the guys, now's your chance. Go ahead.
Best film soundtrack.
Wow, that's a good question.
100%,
Okay, there
no
we
mine
go.
straight away is Arcade Fire did the soundtrack for Her, a film called Her with Joaquin Phoenix, and I listen to it every day.
So one of my favorite composer of all time is a guy called Joe Hisaishi, and he does all the Studio Ghibli movie soundtracks. And I got tickets to see him and the London Symphonic Orchestra play at Wembley, and he caught COVID the night before, and they cancelled it, and now they've rescheduled it, and I just know I'm not going to be here to watch it, so I'm gutted. But the answer is which one of his films? Just anything by Joe Hisaishi, to be honest. Yeah. So.
And ironically, I really like Phil Collins' Tarzan soundtrack. But I know that gets some laughs every time I mention it, but it's like if you revisit it, it's actually really brilliant. Thank you.
What advice would you give to like starting musicians, like people who are just like freshly making music and stuff?
In terms of what, sorry, like specifically about like playing live or like just
like in general, like getting bigger and like just sort of like, yeah, anything really.
I think first thing I'd advise you to do is genuinely just find what you love about music, and really, if you start with pure intent, it does get hard, you know. Like truthfully, like last night I had like a mental breakdown, and I was just like, you know, and I have one every couple of months, right? And I think if I didn't absolutely love what I do, you know, which is sing like loud, fun, kind of heavy-ish, emotional, connective music, like all those things. I'm so grateful I get to do those things at the core. When it gets hard and everything is stripped back, I still have the pure intent at the bottom. So I know that's kind of lame, but like truthfully, like don't run off with like some cool delusion. Like really follow your heart, because at that point then failure doesn't matter, because you're still doing what you truly want to do. So, and I know that's lame because that's like the obvious answer, right? The other thing I'd say though is like, this room's full of people who like music, right? You know what I mean? And like we would go to shows when we grew up. That's kind of how we met, is just like we liked music. We met people who liked music, and we made friends with them. And over time, you know, your social kind of circle will grow. And I think it can't be understated how useful it is to have people around you that you love or believe in you or whatever, because help is super important as well. You know, you can't do everything on your own. So surround yourselves with good people, and just, love what you do, I guess. So.
I think a good thing for us was, especially back in like the Falling with Style days, was like Lucas said about making friends. We all of the bands in our local scene, we were all like best friends. Like we would all play each other's shows, and then like, you know, we would go further afield, and then we'd make friends with other bands, and like that's how you keep getting more shows and getting to play different places, is just by like just making friends with people and being kind of like a little bit more outgoing, you know, like none of us are outgoing
Truthfully,
people.
yeah, that's hard as well. So don't feel like you need to be.
We're all introverts, and none of us are like, you know, super outgoing, but making friends with other musicians in other places and getting to do that, you know, they ask you back, and then we ask them to come play Cardiff with us, and it's just like, it's a snowball effect then, and everyone kind of grows together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that doesn't just happen between bands to other bands as well. That happens like on a personal level. Like my example of this is Falling with Style came around because there was like a school camp rock band camp sort of situation, and I was in a band with friends from my school, and I'd never met Lucas or Scott before, and we saw him cover Everlong with like the teachers at that event, and my band asked Lucas to join, and Lucas said, "Yeah, I'll join, but only if my friend Scott can join as well." And we were like, "Yeah, of course." And like I know it's like kind of like sort of like a very simple sort of example of this, but we were really young, and the snowball effect from that is quite massive if you zoom out, and it snowballed into the effect that Lucas and Scott were in Holding Absence, and he phoned me being like, "Do you want to join Holding Absence?" It doesn't always have to be from a band to another band perspective. It can literally work for you personally as well. So I don't like to say network, because that sounds really like sort of like corporate, but just like be interested in other people's stuff, and you know, sort of keep your ears open and see who you can like benefit and bring value to, and get it back as well, and things will happen quite quickly that way.
And good luck. Yeah, killer.
You said Afterlife is like the song that's always going to be on your set list. Is that your favourite song to play, or do you have a different favourite song you look forward to playing?
I think I wouldn't say it's any of our favourite songs. Like, I can't speak for everyone. I guess a fun fact, Afterlife was like the hardest song we've ever written. It was such a like tough one to like push over the line in the studio, because like we were worried about like selling out and it being too poppy or whatever. But we managed to make it sound like how we wanted it to sound in a Holding Absence song. But I think it's just the fact that it's become so popular on like Spotify and YouTube, and like like everyone seems to love it. I think it's the one song that we can't really be selfish about. And like, even if we all hated that song and like never wanted to play it, we would never expect to kind of like go to a show and deprive everyone who does enjoy that song from hearing it. Whereas like, I think the rest of the set, we can probably be a little bit more selfish sometimes and be like, we enjoy playing this song, so we're going to play this song. But I think Afterlife isn't for us, it's for everyone else.
And also as well, it becomes for us when everyone else kills it in the crowd. It's
course,
like, the crowd always sings along so much to that song. It's like, it does become fun. But yeah, you're right. In a practice room, we wouldn't really play it over. Yeah, man, let's do that again. That would slap. But I will say, like, good example that Scott just said then, there was like, Curse Me With Your Kiss is like a song that we really love playing. And it kind of didn't need to be in the set as much as it had been over the last year, because it wasn't a single or anything. But we just loved playing it.
Yeah, we love playing it. Yeah.
So you do get those songs sometimes. You got a favorite?
No, that was quite conclusive. Yeah, like it becomes our favorite when there's people in the room to enjoy it with. But we don't play it 5 times in practice rooms and like enjoy it ourselves, or indulge in it ourselves, I should say. So yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
What would be your like pinnacle for you? Like your biggest aim, like what would be like a call out from like your dead favourite band, or just becoming completely like a household name, or like what is your like complete end game for you guys?
It's a good question, because we're at the age now where we're all I'm getting very existential, and I think like, well, how long can I keep doing this, So yeah, the key, you always ask yourself, when will I be happy, essentially, And for me, it's like, where we're at, truthfully, where we're at right now, I could happily do that for the rest of my life. I truly love it so much, and I love connecting with you guys and expressing myself through art and stuff. But the problem is when you release an album, it peaks, and then it just kind of goes down naturally. It always will, Time will just slowly make you less relevant, right? So you've got to keep kind of peaking and troughing and trying to find. And for me, it's just a case of like, if we could consistently peak and trough at a healthy size where I could do this for the rest of my life and not have to worry about getting a job, I really, really wouldn't ask for much more than that. And I know that's like a lame answer, but it's like, I'm so grateful for what we've got now. It's just the fear that it is almost like close to just going away very quickly. That's my issue, Like I don't want to be in arena, but I did an interview with Kerrang, and the guy said he literally said to me, how big can this get? And I just remember thinking like, I don't want to answer that. You know what I mean? Like, I hope we can be an arena band, but the truth is like, all I want is just this, man. You know what I mean?
I think an interesting aspect that like most people don't see is to the side of like a band like our size, or like a growing band of our size, is that like behind the scenes, this is essentially a business, and we have a team of like managers and booking agents and record label owners and stuff that are constantly like, you got to keep pushing, you got to do more, like this is a thing that has to grow at the end of the day. And it's just like, for us as the people who are just writing the songs and wanting to connect with people, it's a bit like, oh, okay, well, wow, we're doing that now. Oh, okay, is that are we gonna be able to do that? Is that okay?
Yeah, it gets scary sometimes.
But it's like, to Lucas's point, it's really kind of comforting to be able to do a tour like this and just realize like where we've come from, and like just chatting about like our old bands and where we've been, and like playing to nobody in random places. It's like, it really does kind of like remind you how lucky we are to be where we are. And just, yeah, like we've also put so much hard work into it as well, don't get me wrong, but it's just nice to kind of take what's the word
smell
I'm looking
roses,
for? Yeah, smell the roses, and just be able to like notice, oh wow, we're actually doing this, and this is amazing. So we never want to take it for granted, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like on a more like sort of like materialistic note, I go to so many gigs in Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff. I'd love to play that venue one day.
Same.
Don't get me wrong. I think our answer to all of us is like play a stadium and sell a stadium.
Yeah.
Like realistically, who doesn't want to do that? But I think, yeah, like Lucas's point says it all. Is like we're just completely grateful to be where we are, and I think that is constantly our goal is to
keep it.
Yeah.
Well, my perspective on that is that if you asked me this question 2 years ago, I said I would love to play a sold-out show in Club Ivor Park, and
Exactly.
that's happened. And it's like, well, I guess it's sort of a shame that you can like sometimes get used to things too soon.
Yeah.
So I try to remind myself that that's what I wanted, whilst I'm telling you right now I want to play the arena in Cardiff. So what I want is those things, but like most of all, I want to keep remembering that like this is like what this was the sort of end goal, and that we're currently in. So anything else now from this moment on is a massive bonus.
Also, tour Japan.
Yeah. And also, not to be lame, but Hayley Williams has shouted out so many of our friends' bands now, and she's just never shouted us out. So I keep thinking, come on, Hayley Williams, shout us out. Come on.
Anyone else?
Would you ever bring up a fan to perform with you?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's
We brought our merch guy up to perform with us.
Yeah. He kills it.
So I would never say never.
That's a really tough one because ironically, Paramore is a good example. They obviously get someone up to do Misery Business. But it's like we're kind of at the point where, like with Paramore, it's like they're just so big. The crowd. Hayley doesn't even need a mic on that stage really. Like the crowd will just love it. So, but it is tough because it's like you kind of don't want it to affect the show for everyone else, truthfully, and if you kind of got someone up and they maybe I don't want to say didn't kill it because that just sounds so stupid, but you wouldn't want to make the show feel uncomfortable for anyone else in an odd way, you know what I mean?
Also, a difference in that is it's like they can do that because it's such a well-rehearsed production, and again they have like tens of crew behind the scenes making sure that like nothing goes wrong, whereas like say for example we let someone up and like they broke all our equipment. It's like we don't really have the crew or the money to like. Do you know what I mean? It's like a thing that we have to consider. Is like we can't like fix that in a night. Whereas someone like Paramore or someone like Green Day or something, they can buy new guitars tomorrow. So
but I would say like if we further down the line, if we were ever lucky enough to be at a size like that and we had the same facility to have someone do it, I think like personally we would like enjoy doing it. And
I don't want that to sound like mean.
But right now there's
so many hoops.
there's too much time spent on stage where we don't know what each other are doing. So like inviting like another person isn't on the cards right now. But to answer your question, I think we would do it if the circumstances were better. Anyone else?
Cool. I think I speak for most people when I say we've all had a little fantasy in the bathroom mirror of performing in front of a crowd. Mm-hmm. But when you are actually like up there in front of a crowd, like what's going through your heads?
It's tough because I think about this a lot, and I kind of realize like I don't really remember. Like I get off stage, it almost feels like some sort of like dream, like because you don't really think, but it's like you're almost like you're in fight or flight mode, and then like
you just have to do it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And you have
like,
to hope that you've done it enough to subconsciously do it, and then it's almost feels like a sport sometimes physically where you're trying to do certain stuff. But the only thing I really do remember though is back to the connection. If a crowd is specifically good, that'll completely pique my memory during the set, and so that's always the best bit is kind of bouncing off the crowd and seeing that. But I like Scott said earlier, we are all introverts and like we are all very awkward really, and like
we were all really nervous last night when we
my God,
before going on because we haven't played in a while.
No.
But
But I think like if these three people sat here very shy and uncomfortable on this chair, we aren't really those people on stage. We almost become different people in an odd way. So,
I agree completely. I don't really know what's going through my head. I come off afterwards and I'm like, was that good? And and we tend to find out. And we do have a debrief afterwards and try and find out how we all felt about it. But specifically, I don't really have an answer because it is just a blur.
I mean, that's, to be fair, quite a cool answer.
Thank you.
We probably have about time for 2 more if anyone else has got any more.
What's the best moment you've ever had on stage?
Ooh.
It's really tough. I feel like, not to be lame, but like every time, like London feels like the center of the universe when you play a show there, because it's just, there's so many people there, you know? And I feel like every time we do a London show and it gets bigger, that always feels like the most important show of your life. And then another one comes around, you know? So, but it's tough because it's like personally, my sister sang on The Greatest Mistake of My Life on one of the songs, and she came up and sang with us in Cardiff. And like, I just remember like seeing my mum on the balcony, like, you know, like filming the shit out of it. I just like, it felt, that felt like a personal moment rather than a professional one. So I'd probably go with that one. So.
I think not to sound too self-indulgent, but I have 2. No, that's not the self-indulgent bit. The first one was we did a tour with Dayseeker in America, and it was our first ever time like outside of Europe, and we played LA was the first show, and I just remember like that was such a rush because like some of our gear was broken and we were like running around trying to get things done, and then we went on stage, and again it was a blur, an incredible show, and I think we finished and like the crowd were cheering for an encore and we were supporting a band, and I was like, what? Like we're on a different continent and like this is happening. But from a bit more of a wholesome one, I think walking out to download Pilot Set in 2021, because it was like we hadn't played a show in like 18 months because of COVID, and
biggest show we'd ever
played. And yeah, to walk on stage to that crowd was such a incredible moment, and I think I'll never forget that one.
And for record, that was Ben's
first show.
Yeah.
I probably just stolen yours, haven't I?
I'd say the real self-indulgent bit was that you took my answer. Yeah, I was just really, really nervous and really, really shaky before Download Pilot, and the best moment for me was when when Celebration song ended, knowing that if 9 out of 10 times, if anything's going to go wrong during our set, it will be during the first song, because we've been playing together for so long that once we get going, we know how to keep it going. But the start is where like some technical stuff comes into it, like getting your intro track and your click track and like levels and that. So once the first song had finished and I had the balls to look up, I realized that like it was going well, and I think that is a brief moment for me that just stood out, and like I can still sort of remember it now quite vividly. So that's my best moment. Yeah.
Sorry, did you?
Yeah. Do you have any rituals before we go on?
We were literally talking about this the other day. Like so many bands, like Void of Vision, have a ritual before they go on stage. They do a big group huddle. We literally just go like, you ready? Should we go?
Funny, go on.
I obviously, as a vocalist, do warm it up quite a lot, and I have a very strict day routine. Like I just ate the shit out of like my lunch/tea then, because I have like a 3-hour window before a show and stuff. So I'm always kind of jumping through little hoops, but nothing particularly interesting. But I feel like we have to touch hands.
Yeah,
we'll kind of like. Well, it's kind of lame, really, isn't it? So.
It's such a great question, because Scott's not exaggerating. We were sat in the little green room yesterday, generally going, we don't have a pre-show ritual, and we can hear Void outside, like chanting and hyping each other up.
Doing the hacker.
Yeah. And we were like, what should we do as a ritual? And Ash, our drummer, who's not here now, he put on Tom Jones on Spotify and started dancing.
I was about to say you have to come up with an alternative, so like a Welsh hacker, but Tom Jones kind of works, I guess.
We so yesterday we did we were just goofing around dancing to Tom Jones, but we've only done it once, so it's not technically a ritual.
Technically, today might be the second day streak.
Try it
we
again.
could do it forever from now on, but as it stands, I guess.
Right, I think we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Very much appreciated.
Thanks for having us.
Doors are 7 o'clock, I believe, tonight.
I think so.
So get down there, go and watch Lestelle, go and watch Void Division, and then we'll get to see these guys perform. So
thank you all.
Thank you,
a
round of applause.
Thank you.
A big thank you also to Truck Store for having us, and for you guys to all turning out as well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Sweet.
Just us?
All right, man.